Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Detmer, and I am a civil engineer. I am currently working for Jacobs Engineering in their San Francisco office. I've been with Jacobs about 8 years now, and I actually had the pleasure of presenting at the Women in Construction Conference in Amsterdam, I guess two years ago. And so I'm really excited to be presenting again today in a little bit of a different format, but still excited nonetheless. So today I will be presenting about working with your clients instead of just working for them. I'll go ahead and share the agenda. Let's see. So I will be speaking about the different clients that I've worked for throughout my career. So first I'll speak about a project I was on with a petrochemical client for a few years, then working for oil and gas clients in the Netherlands. And then lastly, I'll finish up with where I am now, working on feasibility studies for confidential tech clients. So I've had a few different experiences with a few different clients, and I'll just be sharing about how merging your workplace cultures can really benefit both you and your client, and just benefit the project execution and hopefully win repeat work. So I will go ahead and jump right into it. So one of the first projects that I worked on was called Shell Franklin Early Works, and it was a petrochemical plant that Shell planned to build in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I was actually on the project for 4 years in total. I worked for 2 years in the Houston, Texas office, the Jacobs office, and then I worked for another 2 years out on the project site as a field engineer. So I think one of the slightly different situations with this project was that the Shell team actually worked in the Jacobs office about 3 days a week. So I was part of the civil group. We had many engineers on the project as it was pretty large. And again, I was an engineer in training at this point. So I was younger, but I was part of the civil team, and we had a Shell counterpart who would be in the Jacobs office. And so just the day-to-day, face-to-face, anytime there was a question about something project related or just project updates, they were right there in the office with you. So it was, I think, one of the best ways to create a relationship with your client. Again, you're not going to be doing this for smaller projects, but as far as mega projects, I thought it was a great setup, I guess. I will say you do have to kind of watch what you say. If you're complaining loudly about something on the project, or there's, something comes up like a fire to put out that you maybe wouldn't let the client know about. They're right there. So you gotta, stay on your toes. But I think overall it was a great setup. And so I will say, so once the project moved into construction and we were out in the field, there was obviously a much heavier focus on HSE, or health, safety, and environment. But at the very beginning of the project, Shell shared with us that for most of their projects, or all of their projects, it's the same focus on safety, but especially for this one, just because of the scale. So at the very beginning, there was and I'm sure those of you who have worked on large projects like this as well, you've had a project-specific health, safety, and environment plan. And so this was a huge part of our project setup. We actually did merge our two safety programs. So the Jacobs safety program is called Beyond Zero, and the Shell safety program was called Goal Zero. And so luckily there was a lot of overlap in goals and processes, but the focus on having kind of one united front as far as safety and project related, I think it was a great way to let the client know that our, company goals, project goals are aligned with theirs. So I will say, for those of you who work for larger firms like this, I'm sure you've got, company safety, company, different programs like that. So it was great to align on that. And then that carried on, like I mentioned, when we were working out in the field, we had these weekly safety meetings with, about 50 people from Jacobs, about 30 people from Shell. And then at the height of construction, we had about 800 craft on site. And so we would have these weekly safety meetings where we did present a united front. So it was the safety team. It wasn't like Jacobs or Shell. And so I think, so this not so much related to working with your clients, but I think just project wise as well, when you're out in the field, it's great to have a united safety front. That way, when people are doing drive-bys, it's not like, oh, that's a Jacobs guy, like it's fine if I don't have my gloves on or something. And then it's like, when the, when the client's out there, when Shell's out there, you got to act differently. It was it was very one team. And so I think that was great to just really solidify our relationship with the client. And on this project, we actually took a lot of scope, I guess, from the later parts of the project. So they're like, Jacobs, like, why don't you go ahead and do this as well? And so I think that definitely benefited us and benefited them in the long run. And so one of the other things on this project that was a really big focus of Shell's was community outreach. And so this was kind of one of the first major projects that they had in the region. And so they wanted to, positively impact the community. So I think Jacobs, we were like, okay, we hear you on this being one of the goals for the project. And so we kind of ran with it. And I think they really appreciated that we, sought out volunteer opportunities. We set up, different community outreach events. And so we would take it upon ourselves to plan those. And then, would say, hey, we're hosting this. Shell, would you like to come and volunteer? And we would always partner with, community agencies in that. And I think my favorite was the yearly Beaver County Maple Syrup Festival. And so both Jacobs and Shell would go out and help tap trees, help with the maple syrup making process, and then volunteer at the actual festival itself, where it was all you could eat pancakes with all you could want maple syrup. I remember dressing up as the Beaver County Beaver. It was like a mascot costume one year. So I think, again, it was a really, not just, a bonding experience on a personal level, but I think it really showed that, we, since it was a goal of theirs, it was a goal of ours. So I will go ahead and move to the next client. So from working in Pittsburgh in the field, I had a brief stint in Australia with Jacobs as well. But from there, I moved to the Netherlands for 2 years. So there, our office, most of our clients were in oil and gas. And so it definitely was a different feel. So we didn't have so much clients working in the office. It was more the traditional setup of, working for your client, not so much interactive teams. So I wasn't used to that, even though that's kind of the more typical way of working. But I will say the way that we connected to our client, again, merging with their cultures. In the Netherlands, when I was there was a heavy focus on sustainability. And so a lot of our energy clients had, company initiatives as far as sustainability goals. And so, Jacobs took it upon ourselves to, help further those goals. So, so as I'm showing on the slide, we had both project specific and company-wide initiatives. So I guess, for example, we would have a new project and the client would say, okay, we need to install this new unit here. Something pretty simple, cookie cutter that they had done before at their plant and Jacobs had helped with before. And so Jacobs has an internal program called Sustainability Plus. And so basically it's an internal initiative to come up with more sustainable options for your project. So even though it wasn't something requested by the client at the beginning of the project, we would, again, try to challenge the norm, try to come up with more sustainable options. Sometimes those options weren't always the most cost effective. So, sometimes we'd have a client, come to us with a project and we would say, yes, we can do exactly what you're asking. And then at some point in the project, we would suggest like, oh, here's this more sustainable option. It will cost a little bit more. And so sometimes it was, sometimes they'd go for it, sometimes they wouldn't, just depending on the project. But I think regardless, it showed that, as Jacobs, like we see that your company culture is focusing on sustainability. We'd like to provide you these options as well. And then I think, and once you provide one alternative option for the project, then it kind of opens the door to have a more back and forth relationship with your client where, you can discuss changes in the project. So that worked out really well in a few cases. And so also Jacobs internally took it upon ourselves to research a few business cases related to the energy transition in the Netherlands. And so this was looking at projects that had to do with like the hydrogen economy, wind, solar. So we internally identified, projects that are probably going to be coming up in the next few years that, are moving towards being more sustainable, and then reaching out to our clients about potentially doing those. So even more, again, a great way to win work, but also, again, like tying the client's company goals to our company goals as well. Let's see, I will move on to my last type of client. So like I mentioned, I'm working right now in San Francisco. I'm working on very high level feasibility studies for data centers. So I work for a few different, right now, confidential tech clients, but so they'll come to us with a site, and basically we evaluate it to see if it's feasible to build data centers there. So looking at high level like power, water, infrastructure availability, environmental issues, permitting, so high level things like that. And so I don't know if it's just the whole, Silicon Valley kind of techie world, but I was very surprised at how casual of a working environment it is here in San Francisco. I think not just for Jacobs, but just in general. And so there's a much more casual relationship with your client where you're just, video chatting each other, texting, anytime you have a question, just, it's very informal. And so I will say that can be good or bad. And so, sometimes it'll be 10 o'clock at night and you'll get a text from the client, or, a Saturday morning. And so I will say, if you answer a few times, I will say work-life balance is huge, and that's a whole different presentation. But I will say that if you answer a few times, I think then, at least for me, I've gotten the picture across that, yes, I do take this project very seriously. I want to be available for you when I can. But then when you are actually busy, Saturday at 10 a.m., and you don't respond, it's not as big of a deal. And they're like, gosh, you must actually be busy. So I will say again, especially from what I've gathered from tech clients, they do really appreciate when you, challenge the norm of project delivery. So again, with the casual nature, just giving them a call and saying, hey, I'm working on this today, and I actually think it'd be easier for everyone if we did it this way. So I think, and they're very agreeable to that. And again, sometimes it's a yes, sometimes it's a no, but I do think, because that's very much how their culture seems to be, much more, innovative thinking, and, not just doing things the standard way. I think it's really appreciated when they see that you are looking for ways to deliver projects in a better way. And then I will say it is a little bit of a challenge, especially when you're trying to win repeat work. I think this is not so much even a construction industry issue, just in business in general. But when you are on such a close basis with these clients, and they ask you to do something out of scope, it's really easy to say, oh yeah, we can. Jacobs does that. Like, yes, we can do that for you. But then, if you say that a few times, over a few month project, that definitely adds up as far as budget. So I think, again, just being very transparent and saying, hey, yes, we can do that. Like, it'll probably take us around 10 hours and it'll cost this much. And, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. So I think, it's a fine line when it comes to out of scope items. But I think I'm running out of time, but that's really all I have for today. I will, join you guys for questions. Hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I'll be answering questions next. Thanks.